In part 1, we took a look at the worst ninja suits from 33 down to 17, so obviously today we are going to be counting down the best ninja minifigures. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'd highly recommend going back and watching it, but there won't be any spoilers in this video, so feel free to stick around.
It's as fake as a used car salesman's smile.
Starting off with the worst of the best minifigures, we have the Air Jitsu suits from back in 2015. These are probably some of the best gimmick suits, and they honestly remind me of the NRG suits. To me, Nia is the standout minifig here, and the rest of them look good, but nothing too crazy. Can't really go head over heels here, they're just some really solid suits.
I was fishing for leads, but for now I find myself adrift on a sea of dead ends.
The 10th anniversary suits are technically legacy suits, but since they're so different, I wanted to include them here. The ninja are decked out in gold, but they each have their own accenting color thrown on. I think the J and the Zane are particularly nice. And for some reason, Wu is the only minifigure that has a golden face. My favorite part about these suits is how they each represent their own respective season. For example, Jay is from Prime Empire, Kai is from the Fire chapter in Season 11, Nia is from the Island, Zane is from the Ice chapter in the Island, and Cole is from Master of the Mountain.
Then she walked in.
Skybound is a top tier season, and they brought us some really nice suits to go along with it. I do feel these suits are a bit overrated because I see people putting these in their top 5, but I still think there's some really good suits. Their main flaw comes from the inconsistency in shoulder armor. Jay, Nia, and Zane get shoulder armor and they look really good, but the rest of them just look too bare. The best thing about these suits is how cohesive they look. Each of the ninja look pretty much the same, just with their own respective symbol printed on their torsos.
She said, shining the only ray of light into my dreary world.
This is going to be a hot take because these next two suits are by far the most overrated ninja outfits ever. Taking the 13th spot is going to be their Deep Stone suits from Season 5. The black shoulder armor does look nice, but these minifigures just have too much black on them. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That being said, Nia is again the standout minifigure of the wave and honestly one of the best ninja minifigures of all time. This has to be one of Cole's worst minifigures ever. He has black as the base and then gray accenting it. It's just lacking any color.
So a canary wants to sing.
The island suits are another one that I see people putting in their top 3, but let's be real, they're not that good. The best part about these minifigures is the dual molded hair bandana piece. I do think the Kai and Nia look really good, but the other minifigures don't have a whole lot going for them. Sometimes less is more, and it feels like they cram too much printing onto these minifigures, especially with Cole. Overall good minifigures, just overrated.
Rumble on the street gave us a hot tip about a goon we needed to shake down.
I ranked Hunted the second worst ninja suit, so it's probably a surprise that Sons of Garmadon is taking the 11th spot. Unlike Hunted, the printing is absolutely phenomenal. I really like Kai's and Lloyd's in particular. The printing is pretty simple, but it's super clean and sleek. My only complaint is I don't love the 2 mask pieces that we first saw in the Ninjago movie. Other than that though, absolutely beautiful suits.
It was time for these 2 gumshoes to beat fate.
Going back to another OG season, far better than the tournament robes, we have the jungle robes from Season 4. The printing here is absolutely beautiful. My only complaint is that we didn't get shoulder armor for all of the ninja. I'd like to see a bit more consistency. Cole once again drags them down, as I think this is one of his worst minifigs. On the flip side, Lloyd and Kai are absolutely beautiful. They absolutely dropped the ball by making Zane like 4 different types of silver. If they chromed him out, he would be by far the best Ninjago minifigure ever. We can all pretty much agree Season 4 was one of the best Ninjago seasons, but unfortunately the wave of sets was one of the worst we've seen. However, these suits were definitely a standout.
I'd been here before. It was a low-class joint that served cheap boba tea.
The OG, the Golden Weapon suits, are one I'm sure you were all wondering where it was going to fall, and yes, it's going to be taking number 9 on this list. This is the perfect example of less is more. No crowded printing, nothing crazy, just everything it needs to do, and it does it beautifully. I also thought it was pretty cool how you could put their golden weapons on the back of the hood. The reuse of the OG ninja piece is really cool to see.
As soon as we walked in, every palooka in the place pointed their ugly mugs at us.
Day of the Departed is going to be taking just one step above the Golden Weapons, and that's because they are very similar suits, just with slightly updated prints. As long as you ignore that Nia face print, these are some really good looking suits. The reddish brown armor piece isn't something that sounds good on paper, but it somehow works so well. I also do really like the dual molded hood pieces on top of the OG style torso print.
Hey, is he talking to us? Or about us?
The ZX suits from 2012 are ones I'm sure we all have a ton of nostalgia for. These were such nice upgrades from their OG suits, as we saw an updated hood piece as well as shoulder armor that perfectly accented their main color. They really knew what they were doing back then. The gold on Kai and Zane and the silver on Jay and Cole looks so nice. The ZX Lloyd is one of the best Ninjago figures ever, and did you know that even though it came out in 2012 in the epic dragon battle, we saw it in a Lego movie set?
She said nervously, because from the looks of these rowdy no-good-nicks, it was clear we were in for trouble.
The stone armor suits from Season 3 are some of the most unique minifigures ever. Did you know that Lloyd and Zane were the only ones that actually came out in a real set, being the Battle for Ninjago City? Kai came in an exclusive box, Jay came in a book, and Cole came in a poly bag. Due to these weird releases, these figures can cost you a pretty penny. I still haven't gotten my hands on Cole yet. In order to defeat the Overlord, the Ninja had to merge their suits with stone armor, and honestly, it turned out so sick. A vast improvement from their techno robes. Although it doesn't even matter, because Wu and Garmadon ended up playing baseball with their shrinking pill. If you know, you know.
The lug was as big as an ox and smelled like one too.
The printing on the DX suits never ceases to amaze me. Despite coming out back in 2011, the printing on their torsos looks so good. All of the Ninja came out in at least 2 sets, but Lloyd came out a couple years later in an exclusive Toys R Us box, and yeah, he's gonna run you at least 150 bucks. Each Ninja looks so good, and they look so good together as well as a collection because of how uniform the designs are, and then they each have their own dragon printed on their torsos. This is the attention to detail we just don't see anymore in 2024, unfortunately. As I look at these suits further, I'm even debating putting them further up on the list, but 5 out of 33 is pretty dang good.
He wasn't the sharpest crayon in the box.
If you watched part 1 of this series, then you probably remember I hate Crystallize, I hate their minifigures, but the golden dragon form figures are top notch. The amount of effort that was put in with their translucent colors and then the new molds is just simply incredible. My favorite here is definitely Zane, and then surprisingly Cole as a sleeper second pick. However, these suits have a glaring flaw. The blue Technic pins on the back. I don't know why they just didn't make it black. It works for Zane, obviously because his color is blue, but not for the other ones. If you haven't picked up these figures, I would highly recommend it. You can still get them off Bricklink for 10 to 15 bucks at the absolute maximum each. It almost hurts my soul to put these figures up with all the OG figures in the top 5, but the designers put so much love, so much care into these, and they definitely paid off.
It was a fight he wanted. I was happy to give it to him.
Hands of Time is easily a top 5 worst season, but their minifigures are nothing short of incredible. The mix of black with the Ninja's main color just works so well here, and you'll see that's a theme among many of the best minifigures. The torso print is really good, and the minifigures with the hood and shoulder armor combo in particularly really look good. Hands of Time undoubtedly put out some really good sets and minifigures with the Dragon's Forge and the Dawn of the Iron Doom. The Ray and Maya minifigures are also spectacular, along with the Time Twins. They're worth like $50 each. In terms of the Ninja, Lloyd and Jay are definitely the standouts, but the rest of them look so good as well.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Guys, these last two are so hard to rank, but NRG has to take the number 2 spot. Now, I think the Zane and the Jay, absolutely incredible. Better than any of the minifigures that we'll see at number 1. But the Cole and the Kai aren't really doing it for me. Now don't get me wrong, they still look incredible with incredible printing, but there's just not enough contrast of colors for me. If these minifigures were their translucent colors like they actually were in the show, they would be hands down the best minifigures of all time. All of these minifigures came out in 2012, but then we actually saw Nia come out in the Temple of the Endless Sea set all the way just recent in 2021. The Nia by herself is kind of mid, but when she has all of her water accessories, she's a top tier fig.
That's why I decided to throw an uppercut to his glass jaw.
Alright guys, you saw this one coming. The kimono aka Elemental Robes is at the #1 spot, the greatest Ninjago suit of all time. The black as the base, and then each of the ninjas' color as forming almost a Y design is so good looking. These minifigures are so nostalgic, and honestly, they're perfect except for one thing. For some reason, they're all missing their shoulder armor. Now, fortunately, it's a really easy thing to include, but it should still have been with the minifigures when they came out back in 2013. Also, that Golden Lloyd is probably the best Ninjago figure ever made. Maybe Moro possessed Lloyd, but it's definitely up there. All of the ninja came out in their respective sets, but Lloyd actually came out in a book, and he's releasing in a book in 2025, and I have some thoughts on that, but we're not going to go into that today. Ninjago was supposed to end in 2013, and thank goodness it didn't, but if it did, these would have been some banger suits to leave us off on. Alright guys, we've officially come to the end of the video. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, make sure to go do that. I appreciate you all for sticking around this long. If you enjoyed this video, tons more LEGO ranking videos are already out and will be on their way, so make sure to like and subscribe. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. More LEGO videos coming up on the end screen now.